Good evening, viewers. Welcome to another presentation here in the Issues Room. It's good to be back here. Today is March 29th, I believe, and this is our 59th edition, so what a coincidence. We just want to welcome all of you, our viewers and listeners all over the world. Again, I'm under the weather. This stuff keeps going back and forth. So my voice is kind of low, raspy, but we'll go through the show tonight. Let me welcome my colleague Moses Sandy out there. This is Volcano Shelton Moses Sandy. Welcome to the 59th edition of the Issues Room.
We are gradually getting there, Volcano. Once again, I'm happy to be back in the Issues Room with you. And let me join you in welcoming our many listeners and viewers wherever you find yourself. We want to say welcome to the Issues Room, where we discuss the issues that matter most.
Thank you. Well, we're going to have a good show tonight. Just to quickly let the cat out of the bag, one of the authors of the controversial book, and this book became controversial because of a chapter in the book written by Emmanuel Clarke and Ivar. Um, both gentlemen, were in the headlines for some months, now. With Liberia, there's always the wildfire and then it gets extinguished. But we're just going to, just tease around it. But there are other good content of the book. Different chapters cover many other things. Some of the things we'll discuss tonight, on rape, the prevalence of rape in the country, Liberia being first in many of the things, but yet we look like we're the last, when you come to think about it. So we'll be bringing our studio guest in momentarily, but let's go quickly to our trending news. What is it that you have on your end? Again, I'm asking our viewers and listeners to pardon my voice. As you can see, again,
Yeah,
since I got down
yeah,
under the
you honor
weather,
the
someone
weather.
told me
Yeah.
I could be probably being teased with the malaria, so I need to check myself up. So I
Oh
started
man.
on a, medication regimen for both the
Okay.
cold and everything else.
And sorry to hear that. I hope that you can bounce back soon. Because we need you
Yes,
in the
because it's
issues room.
fluctuating. I was here
Yeah.
about a
Hmm.
week and a half ago, seemed
Yeah.
to be going away, and then it just bounced back. This time in full bloom. My
Oh, okay.
joints are aching.
Oh wow.
Everything else is killing me. But
But
I
you
think you
taking
can
some
see from
over
my
the counter
face.
pills? You taking over the counter pills?
But that LIB now. You go
But
in the
man,
bloodstream, anything that over the counter,
wish you
but
a
man.
speedy recovery, man. I know you're a resilient man. You should have
All
bounced
right.
back. You can do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Anything on your end, quick?
yeah, two top stories that really training. Would like to begin on the situation at the Rabos International Airport, the unstable electricity
Hold on.
problem. Yeah.
Tell that James Coyer man to stop. He gonna talk about that symptom of COVID-19. James, I'm boosted, two shots per booster. They did not just the change in the weather, the
So
heat, the fumes, the dust, all of the things are the combination. Man, all these carbon monoxide going around, no inspection,
yeah,
you know, everything just smoking all over the place, all in that fumes. Then you got all this dust going on in dry season, and then
yeah,
the
and
heat.
the change
Man,
in weather and all of
don't start with
that,
that trouble here. I'm begging you.
yeah,
I need to get on my flight. Oh.
and just to add on to what you're saying, the change in weather, trying to get you said, just
Yeah.
it's understandable.
I'm not
It's
drinking plastic
understandable.
bear water all now. I on the grounds. Yeah. So all of the
Oh,
everybody drinking plastic bear
man,
water,
you
you
read it
know
on
where
the
it's coming
ground.
from.
You read it on the ground, avocado. I can't remember when last I drank from plastic bag.
Yeah, so go on with your news, my
Yeah.
brother.
Yeah, so as I was saying, Volcano, we have two top stories. And this has to do with national safety. the safety of passengers using the Rabos International Airport, international and local travelers using the Rabos International Airport. Volcano, the situation at the RIA in terms of a constant supply of electricity, the unstable electricity situation at the Rabos International Airport seems to be out of control. Yesterday, according to media report, the airport was in darkness. Then I am told President George Manuel Weah and delegation were en route to Liberia from the United Arab Emirates, where they had traveled for an international trip. 30 minutes away from the airport was in complete darkness because there was no electricity. This is serious. There have been multiple reports and nothing seems to be happening. I don't know, Volcano. You use the airport, your experience can add on. When you think about this craziness at the Rabos International Airport,
I
what
mean,
is your
you
thought?
come to think about it, it's I told you the other day, nobody takes anything serious in this country. We're joking. I told you. And if you have a government where the ministers are filthy rich, then the country's coffers, including the president, and it's not hitting. The international community have complained. The American ambassador has put his voice. Everybody on the international scene has something to say about the depth of corruption in the country and the deprivation of the national rights. When I say
Basic
national
services.
rights to
Mhm.
electricity of the people, national
Yeah.
rights to pipe-borne water, national rights. This is not privilege.
No, it's all
The
right.
Liberian people deserve more. President Weah said he was going to deliver more. And we're still in darkness in the 21st century. A small capital, even the war in Ukraine, Kiev or Kyiv or however it's called, the capital city, is in is not in darkness. They have light in the midst of war.
Yeah.
And we have stability for the last several unbroken stability for the last several years. With millions and millions of dollars combined could be billions. And we're still in this darkness.
I
So,
can
you know,
I just quickly can wrap my head around what is happening. Volcano at the Rabos International Airport. Is the Liberian government telling us that it cannot sustain electricity at the RIA? Yesterday, the president's flight was almost delayed because there was no electricity at the airport.
and let's not
That
dwell
is
on this
dangerous.
long because we got
Yeah,
so much else.
yeah.
Moses, let's not dwell on this
And
long.
yeah, so another training
I wanted to
story.
say this quick. I
Yeah,
wanted to
quickly
say
go
this quick.
ahead. Yeah,
These are some of the reasons why, if this government is not re-elected, this will be one of the cardinal reasons. When you cannot provide electricity within 6 years, constant electricity within 6 years,
yeah,
it's being rationed. Water being rationed. Hospitals are in perils. Dilapidated state. No medicine. People go there to say, oh, you got to bring everything. So why go to the hospital if I can bring everything? Why didn't I treat myself home like I'm doing now? If I went to JFK, what it would do for me? What would it do for me? So we're not seeing these things because it's not happening. It's right here. Everybody
mhm,
can feel it and see it. You know. So I think we have a long night. I know the trending news you're gonna bring. We can discuss that hopefully Friday. It's still a hot news. If it
yeah,
has to do with the $300,000
yeah,
Nathaniel McGay say he will give to Eula,
yeah,
then we'll bring
and
it on
and
Friday
and
because I have been thinking to myself,
that's another
when
controversial
Mr.
one. In fact,
McGill makes declaration like this, it tells me that he is the president of the country.
of
So I'm
course,
not sure if we had told him to go and say that, or he said
well,
that, you know, with impulsivity like that they've done for many things. But we'll come back to that on Friday. But let's go
Sure.
into this
Yeah.
because we don't want the
Yeah, let's go
viewers
into
sitting.
let's bring our guests and go into all the most talked about controversial book written by Professor Emmanuel Clarke and Mr. Ava Tuba. Let's go into that discussion. Bring Emmanuel in.
So hold on. So
Hmm.
before I bring Emmanuel, I want to do a quick synopsis of his profile.
Sure.
He's Professor Emmanuel Clarke, who is the author of more than 10 books. He has taught at Mercer County College in New Jersey, Burlington County College in New Jersey as well, United Methodist University in Liberia, Technical University in Liberia. His published books include Computer Concepts for Liberian Schools,
I, wa- I wonder what is happening. You're
Technical
breaking in your
Computer
system.
Concept.
You're breaking in your system. I don't know
So I
what.
know what happened here again.
Okay. Can
I
hear
think it's
you. Yeah. We are having a little bit of a technical glitch this evening. The problem in Liberia, constant internet supply is a challenge. There's a problem with electricity, but I hope Volcano will be able to get this together and we can continue with this podcast. Volcano, are you there? Mr. Shelton, are you there? Are
so I'm hoping that Moses comes back quickly as I was reading Mr. Clark's little brief bio. So as I was saying, um, he's reading books. One of the books is computer concepts for Liberian schools, senior high lab manual, computer concepts for Liberian school, junior high lab manual, elementary computer lab manual, Golden Minds, grade 1 language arts for Liberian schools, Monrovia, the city of lovers, liars, and thieves, in tears and blood, the fraternal deception, management information for Liberian colleges and universities, project management for a modern Liberia, etc. Professor Clarke is the CEO of Clarke Publishing Group, which headquartered in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, USA. He is married and is the father of 4 children. Uh, Mostly, I think we're good to go now. What was
yeah.
happening is there was a issue with the computer. It was
Okay.
blinking, and so it kept pulsating my voice. I
Okay.
believe from your end. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping we're good to go.
Yes, I'm hearing you. You sound real audible.
Good, good. So I'm waiting for Professor Clark to come back.
Hmm.
Hopefully he can hear us from his end to bring him in. But
Okay.
as we were talking about, some of the little stuff
Teacher.
today,
Yeah.
I ran into a situation. So let's just talk about this quickly while we are waiting. I
Okay.
ran into a situation. I was driving and the power steering fluid, seemed to be very low because the steering started getting stiff.
On your vehicle.
So yeah, so knowing, about cars, I decided to check. So I checked. Indeed, it was way, way below the mark. So what I did was I went to go check for power steering fluid. I went to several places, Moses. There's no power steering fluid in Liberia. Do you know what the
Wow.
folks put before you?
No.
Transmission fluid.
Oh, but
So
transmission
everywhere I
fluid is
went, as
yeah.
soon as I asked for power steering fluid,
They bring you
they handed me
transmission.
transmission fluid. So I said, but no, this is transmission fluid. They said that what we can use here, that what we can use it, what everybody using.
Wow.
So I started to argue with the guy. The guy said, go look in the car. Your own say you see that either. Somebody said, go look in the car, my man. I opened the stuff. that transmission
That
fluid.
transmission fluid to pull that.
So I look in the trunk, I saw the transmission fluid bottle, but it was empty.
Yeah.
So I said, but this is a serious thing. So I ended up putting the transmission fluid in the stuff. That
Because
why I'm driving one is a little better now.
yeah,
But these are the things that continue to damage these cars because people are using things in the wrong places.
places,
Because
yeah,
because the content of power steering fluid is different from the content of
of
transmission fluid.
transmission fluid. I absolutely agree with you.
Yeah.
You know,
So, but that's what
that's
they're using,
that's why they have separate names.
and for separate purposes.
Purposes, yeah.
Yeah. So let me bring in Professor Clark. He's backstage. Good evening, sir. Welcome. Uh, we're here today to discuss that wonderful book that has brought a lot of controversies in the coming months, rather in prior months. One of your colleague, your co-author, apparently was attempting to leave the country because things didn't look well. However, he's here now, there in the U.S., and it seemed as though the book, the noise about the book, social media platform, they have a way of taking something and swelling it. But now
Mhm.
it seemed to be dissipating to the point where no one is talking about it. But we'll come to that in the latter of our conversation so far. We don't want to just reignite this whole conversation right away. So we want to go pace by pace. So before Moses comes in, let me just quickly ask you, because when President Weah spoke in private, we didn't hear it from him. Costa said that he told Costa that he never asked you guys to write a book, and he told Ava not to write a book about him. Let's first clear that so we can proceed. Did President Weah give you guys the go ahead to write this book?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Shelton. Thank you, the issued room. Uh, I'm glad to be here to demystify some of the misconceptions about the book. Yeah, it's true. This book is an unauthorized biography. As you know, as a public official celebrity, anyone has the right to write about them. But prior to writing the book, we sent letter to Mr. Weah, President Weah. Uh, then we sent the same letter to Nathaniel McGill, Eugene Nangbe Pisota, his inner circle, asking, requesting us, a sit down with him for an interview. He refused. None of them came back to us. He never acknowledged receipt of the letter. We sent it to his 6 different email addresses, and he didn't. He just refused because there is this beef between him and my co-author, Mr. Tukba. So we went ahead to start a process. We circumvented the um, the subject, who is Mr. Weah. I mean, not real circumventing. That's a poor choice of word, but we worked around him to get the information. So we went ahead and sent out 40 questions to his inner circle, his close friends, family members, and at least 200 of them. From that, we got about 180 replied with good answers. Then we did our comparative analysis using the process of corroboration and elimination. So when you do that, it's a scientific process. It's painstaking for you. If you want good information, you do that. So sometimes 40 people will give you the same answer for a certain thing. So you say, oh, okay, then this question is correct. Myself, I never knew that George Weah was born in Nimba County until, one of his family members and several other people say, yeah, he was born there in Ganta and what have you, which is a good thing, to know. So we went ahead From the 187 people that returned the questionnaire, 30 people agreed. So we reached back to them, asked them if they could be put on the records. Only 30 agreed. So we have solid information. Then we went ahead, wrote the book, then reached back out to Mr. Weah. I'm a journalist. I did print journalism. I know how to cross check information, how to verify information from the sources. So we reached back out to him to verify the information we had. We sent the same letter to McGill and those people. None of them responded. So went ahead and came out. We're just being respectful to Mr. Weah. We never needed to do it. You don't do it when you're doing something unauthorized. So, but we're being very gracious to him. All he needed to do is sit down and verify some of the information. If you didn't like it, we would have taken it from there. So we did our due diligence, and that's the book you have. It may not be perfect, but the book is very informational. It's informative. It's a good read, and the book is more than that controversial controversy. Um, Chapter 13. Even those 100 words were just misconstrued by so many people. So that's how we wrote the book. And to answer the question again, he never authorized her to write the book. Thank you.
Uh,
Moses.
yeah, Emmanuel. First, let me say, again, welcome to the issues room. Like you indicated, the book, George Weah, the dream, the legend, rise, made it rise to power.
Mhm.
It's a very good book. I had the opportunity, looking at some of your chapters and reviewing there, and it seems to portray a lot about Mr. Weir. And from what I gather, this book is an autobiography. I mean, it's a biography. It's a biography written by you and Mr. Tuba. And so this means to say that writing this book, you guys were under professional obligations because you were telling someone's story. It's like if you choose to write about Moses Sandy, you're not writing a news story. You say you're a journalist. You're not writing a news stories of Moses Sandy. You're delving into Moses Sandy's life. Then you have professional and moral obligation to make sure that you cross check, you check with Mr. Sandy, and Mr. Sandy say, hey, yes, I think I'm in agreement with you on this, move forward. In your case, you said you guys sent out, I think, what, questionnaire of 200, and only 17 presidents, I mean, 30 presidents committed to say, hey, you can quote us, you can quote us. The rest of the 170 say, we're just speaking off the record. And you guys decided to go, to publish. But then the concern I have is that the controversial chapter, with the exception of the controversial chapter, chapter 13, it is a very good read. Like I said, it is a very good read. The only problem most people have with this publication is chapter 13. So if you guys chose to be so graphic in chapter 13 that talked about the first lady, don't you think you were under a professional obligation to make sure that Mr. Weah himself was in agreement with that? I know that you said you guys made a lot of effort, but everything, the outcome turned out to be bad. Don't you think you were under professional obligation to be so graphic about this lady's private part? in chapter 13, and you're telling me, say, you were doing the president a favor? Explain that for us.
What is so outraged about chapter 13? Haven't you heard those words, Mr.
Uh,
Sandy?
I read them. I heard about them, but I think again, let's come back to what the objective of the book is. The objective of this book is to tell. Look at your caption, your book title, George Weah, the legend, the dream, and the rise to power. So basically, from what I'm gathering, anyone who read that book, who has seen that caption or who has seen that title, we conclude that here it is to tell positive. It's all about positivity in this guy's
I
life.
wouldn't agree with that,
Yeah,
Moses. Moses.
that's my
Yeah,
personal read.
okay, because
Yeah,
it doesn't have to all be
yeah,
positive.
yeah, so I'm saying that to a greater extent, anyone will assume that, hey, I
But I
want to
think there
see.
was a lot of positive things in the book,
Yeah, that's what
Moses.
I said. There are a lot of
Way
positive
positive
things,
things than this.
a lot of positive
Yeah.
things in that
Okay.
book. But what I'm saying, anyone will say, well, look, I want to see where this guy came from and where he's at today. So now
So
in
let's give him the
chapter
opportunity
13,
now.
yeah, so the chapter 13, which I was making reference to, that seems so graphic. And you asked me whether I haven't heard that. It's not about whether I haven't heard that before. I'm asking you, you decided to write about somebody who did not give you the go ahead. How
Mhm.
sure are you that the people you quoted, because you are saying that the man he said you did not talk to him?
Mhm.
So the people you quoted, those sources that you gather that information from, how sure are you that what you have in chapter 13 represents the actual saying of Mr. Weir? How do you explain that?
Um, Thank you. Uh, I don't think 19 people can lie. 19 different individuals that um, you contacted from different locations can lie about, I mean, with the same answer. Scientifically, it's just impossible. Where was Mr. Sandy born?
Say that again.
Where was Mr. Sandy born? Moses Sandy, Moses D. Sandy.
What has that got to do with your
No,
book?
I just need, I mean, just, it's just a simple answer.
Let us not delve into that. This is not
Okay,
about me.
okay. For
I
example,
will
I
choose
just,
not to answer.
that's just an
I will
example I
choose
want to
not to
give.
answer that.
Okay, Mr. Sandy, we know he's a Liberian, right? Okay,
Yes.
if
Mhm.
I try to ask a simple question about Mr. Sandy, um, if he refuses
To answer.
to answer me, if I went to his brother,
Mhm.
close friends, and other associates with that same question, oh, where is Mr. Sandy from? If they told me that Mr. Sandy is from Liberia and he's from this tribe, would I assume that it's a lie?
Well,
M- Maybe other
you
people
will,
will.
yeah. For the fact that you didn't hear from me, based on what you told me, if you talk to people closer to me, some information are just basic. But
So,
if you're going to quote me verbatim, if you're going to quote me verbatim, or you're going to paraphrase something that has to do with my private life, then you don't take that from a source. It has to come from me directly. So that's
so
my question to you.
it
Why
was.
did you? My question to you: you did not speak to Mr. Weir directly.
Mhm.
You spoke to people closer to Mr. Weir. How convinced? I mean, how convinced were you that what you wrote in chapter 13 is a true statement that emanated from Mr. Weir
because
about
the
his
answer
wife?
because the answers that I got for that particular session of the book was corroborated by many people, so it
Okay.
couldn't be lied like other contents.
Okay.
So, and in fact, I don't know, the fake outrage from most of the people, the Liberian people that are, I mean, that are here condemning the book without having read the entirety of that particular chapter. Uh, I don't see it. There is no merit to it. In that particular chapter that has raising a lot of controversies. What Mr. Weah was trying to do, what for that particular thing, the question was, why did Mr. Weah marry Clark Weah instead of a Liberian woman? And
Right.
those were answers. Those answers came from people that were close to him at the time, family members, friends, and that was it. So, in fact, we cleaned it up a little bit. It was not in those exact words. When you are paraphrasing somebody else's word, you got to be careful how you paraphrase it before you misquote the person in your
Okay.
paraphrasing. So we were very careful, and it was intended to be the way. I mean, to be the way it is. The outcome, we put it there with that intent because Mr. Weir is not as sophisticated as a lot of people sees him. When he's within his element, he's a different person. When he's comfortable around you, he's different. You know, boys talk. That's why after writing this whole book, we reached out to him and asked him, can you sit down? Well, we have listen, so can you come for us to just do a little run through so we can put the book out? And as a writer, this is book number 18 for me. As a writer, especially writing a biography of a person, you want to do it unfiltered. You don't do it with bias. We're not biased.
Absolutely.
So you have to write the good, the bad, and the ugly. Mr. Weah is now an angel. I mean, in the Gibraltar area, people that know him, they question the answer that we got some. The question, the boy was so bad until one day he got burned. The people, when they took him out of the place, the people were so happy. They said, "Oh, thank God, they have taken that bad boyfriend. We can rest now." And when he came back, people were like, "Oh God, he back again." But that's just a person who was trying to find himself. He was a lost person. But his story is beautiful. It's an inspiration to a lot of people. The man is my football hero.
Mhm.
I love George Weah, the footballer. That's why when I realized as an author, as a writer, that there was nothing out there for him, I decided to go on the adventure to go and to write something about my football hero. And I had to tell the story as I heard it. I called him to we called him to verify some of the information. He refused. So we're left with no other option. Could we have said it differently? Perhaps. Or we could have just taken those things out and made George Weah an angel, which I would be doing a disservice to myself as a writer, as a journalist, because we have to write everything. It has to be unfiltered. There are books. When Donald Trump was president, there were 22 books that came out on him during his presidency. There were worse things in those books, in many of those books. Even Nancy Reagan, you should read a book about her. So, I mean, would I apologize for what I wrote? No. Who the person that needs to apologize is George Weah. If the people with the fake outrage in Liberia um, about the book, about what I wrote, they need to go after George Weah and ask him to apologize for denigrating Liberian women. There are more important things to discuss than just 100 words, those 100 words in that paragraph. So we need to look at rape. We need to look at the current situation in Liberia, the culture of rape, the issue of some men sleeping with underage girls in Liberia. So those are social issues that are impacting our society. I mean, I, somebody told me the Minister of Gender, Judy Andy, and other people, when they demonstrated, they took a position statement to the First Lady, and the First Lady to say, oh, they were in solidarity with the First Lady. So the First Lady told them, I mean, I don't have problem. As far as I'm concerned, my husband loves me. So if you have problem with the authors, you guys should go after them. And that had the whole noise from the traditional women from the gender ministry went away. So is it hypocrisy? Of course, but that's the Liberia we live in. That's the
Let me
Liberia.
come in quickly.
Yeah, go
Yes.
ahead, Volcano.
Yeah, let me come in quickly, Emmanuel. So regarding everything, I understand. I've done research as well. You've done what you had to do. Following the procedures, the protocols. Like one of the viewers here tonight, Collie Patel, just asserted that you did. You guys did what you had to do. You reached out. You constantly reached out, but you had confidants who were able to review some of the information, and 30 of those people said yes, go ahead, and we're back what we say. But with everything that has happened, do you think that there will be any legal recourse, uh, irrespective of because there were a lot of hullabaloo around suited defamation of this and blah 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 blah. Has that frightened you for what you guys have done? And is this on the horizon? Could this come about?
I heard the administration, people within the circle of George Weah tried, even some family members here tried, but anyone they consulted, they told them you have no case. For example, Sarah Palin, she sued the New York Times. They kicked the whole case out. So the man is a public figure. He's president. We did nothing wrong. In fact, when he takes her to court, or anybody for that matter, hey, they they might be wasting their time, and we might be suing them. We counter sue for wasting our time. So we are prepared for it. We got legal insurance here in this country. A lot of people don't know about it. When you run a business as an author, you buy legal, you buy insurance for your organization. I have a publishing company. I have published books for other people, and so luckily for us, we have lawyers. They told us, you know what, we're not going to worry about let the lawsuit come. But George Weah and people around him, smart people, know that any frivolous lawsuit that comes, it's not going to go anywhere. So
So just before
But
Moses comes back,
yeah,
let's go to some positive things in this book.
but
I don't want
quickly,
to dwell on chapter 13 from my end.
mhm,
I just want to continue on, because there's a
other
lot of
other
positive
other
things coming through
components.
the
Yeah,
book.
okay.
Come
But
again, Moses?
yeah, something I just wanted to say, Emmanuel, legally, we all know, for the fact that George Weah is president of the Republic of Liberia, he cannot sue, and he also cannot be sued.
hmm
So that's one of the good things that you have on your side. To say that, you did everything you could. Uh, let's be human here. If this was about him and talking about his wife in such a terrible way, and you think that was appropriate,
it's not
then
terrible.
that's my reading. Then let's leave it at that. But again, like I said, the book is a good book. It traces the life from where this guy came from to where he is today. That's a story that a lot of people want to read. They want to learn about him.
So
George Weah
let's
is not a
dwell on
saint.
let's
So
talk about the story now, Moses.
yeah,
That's why
so
it's important for us to
mhm,
proceed, because there's a lot more to
mhm.
cover in this book.
Okay. So I heard you
But I
talk
was in I
about.
was in queue when you
Oh
came
yeah,
in.
okay, yeah, go ahead, okay,
Yeah,
go
so
ahead, yeah, go
I
ahead.
just wanted to establish that.
Go ahead.
So Emmanuel, let's look at some of the positive things regarding this book. You talked about Mr. Weah being your football idol. Um, he came to prominence through soccer.
hmm
Um, I don't think he had any dream of wanting to be president or becoming president. Sometimes these things come about when you're in certain circle, and those people who are greedy for power, they see that conduit. Weah was the conduit for many of these guys today who've become overnight rich men, to utilize his popularity to get to where he is today. And now it becomes a clique, a group of guys together who are, now leading Liberia.
Oh,
At any point,
you just
um,
lost him.
we've just
Yeah.
lost him.
No, I'm
We've just
here. I'm here.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Hmm.
At any point, um, looking at the soccer player, when you guys were writing the book, at what point did you think
Are you
that
comfortable, Emmanuel?
he
Yeah,
is?
I'm
He is.
comfortable.
Okay.
He is. At what point did you guys think that it was possible that Weah could be president? Because you're gathering data, you're gathering information from people, and as you were transitioning chapter by chapter, because I'm sure that your thought was sequential,
Mhm.
from one thing leading to the next, leading to the next.
George Weah never dreamed of becoming president of Liberia. He wanted to be so many things. He wanted to be a musician. He used to go to Shaolin Temple around the area. If you see George Weah doing some of these things, George Weah currently is living his childhood dream, beside accidentally becoming president. But the idea of going into politics was born around the liquor table, which maybe people would see certain ability in a person and try to talk the person into a certain thing, or maybe for their own selfish benefit. So it, the presidency was something far fetched. So in the book we say George Weah did not go into politics. Politics came to George Weah. So, but being a man who has passion, George Weah, to tell you the truth, that fellow you see, George Weah, love for liberation is unsurpassed. It's unquestioned. A lot of people, even my co-author, he got upset with me when I talk about George Weah with passion, because that man, he gave so much to that country than anybody before him, any football player. So the George Weah you see now, as president, as senator, it came to him just from the liquor table. It's not something he dreamed about. The first position George Weah ever held, as I mean, in school, was he was secretary of his class. That was the only official political um, election George Weah had. You know, I think campus politics, president of his class. When he was growing up, he talked less because he had speech difficulties when he was coming up. He never talked until he got a little bit, like 3 years old, to actually author word. He started school late, but the presidency, his brother, people told him, "My man, the way you are popular, I think you can become president of Liberia." Friends, he kept hearing it, and you know, we are pushed by nurture or by environmental factors. When people beat a certain thing in your head, you tend to believe it. And Liberia, being a country that is lacking in so many things, especially leadership, true leader, people will gravitate to anyone who they see that ability in. And George Weah happened to be the most popular Liberian. He was in the right place and at the right time. So it was just time. And if you look at George Weah as an individual, he's a blessed guy. You cannot, no matter his mishaps, no matter the theatrical display of insanity you see him portraying every time, he's a child inside. George Weah is a kid inside. The killing that going on, especially the current book we're working on. Look, I can tell you the revelation that we have made, the information we have gotten, You'll be surprised when that book come out. The stealing that going on, who doing the stealing, how it's being done, the killing that going, who doing the killing, why it's being done, how it's being done, everything. You think George Weah sanctioned those? George Weah is one of those guys. He's a scary cat.
So it
He
seems
doesn't,
to suggest,
he
yeah,
doesn't have the nerve to
mhm.
say he will pick up something. He will cuss you. He will cuss mom, cuss and do whatever it is. But even when George Weah gave money to the crime group, Model back in the day, he didn't give actually give money to Model during the our research. He gave it to people for relief purpose. If it went to Model, well, that's it. He may not have known who it was going to.
Okay. So Emmanuel, you struck some real selling point this evening, and help us look at your man George Weah. You researched George Weah. You spoke to people closer to George Weah. From your assessment and based on the studies that you have done over the years, do you think George Weah is a presidential material?
I'm not going to answer that question
Why not? Because I
because
assume that you know him. You know him more than most people.
I know George Weah from the research. I have gotten to know George Weah intimately.
Hmm. Yes.
Um, George Weah was not prepared for the presidency
Okay.
when day one.
Okay.
But the presidency is not uh how should I say, it's a learner position. Okay, it's not like uh you have to have an experience to become a president, even
But
though you have,
it takes significant skills before getting to that level.
of course,
Does
but
he have those skills?
he has passion. Passion is better than skill. If you are smart enough, you can learn your way. But the problem here, in order to know the intelligence of a leader,
Hmm.
you have to look at the people around him. He was not prepared in 2005. He was not prepared to become president, and everybody saw it. That's why the reason when he won that election, it was stolen from him
How can you prove that?
because we got the information. Everything is, if you read the book, you will know. You got the book. Read it. I'm not going to
I
let
mean,
it
just
go.
in 1 or 2 words for us, tell us
So
why you
after
think
that,
the election was stolen.
because Obasanjo told the people in a meeting, he said this election is by selection and not election. So Ellen Johnson Sirleaf was selected.
Okay.
After they gave, I mean, of course they had to pay George Weah for his material, and there was a backdoor deal that was done where George Weah had to wait for his turn. He needed to gain some experience. So Ellen supposed to serve according to the arrangement. People that were in the meeting in Abuja, with, and another one in Ghana with Okufu at that time, they told George Weah, let the woman run, let her rule the country. When she leaves, after 2 terms or when she's tired, she will help you become president. And Ellen lived at the time, she lived by the arrangement and held George Weah hand to become, and literally almost, if you don't know, Liberian people, they don't read between the lines. Many of them, she ran campaign for George Weah, whether you like it or not. Why do you think George Weah never ran 2011? Even during the time, George Weah went out less than 10 times to campaign for Tubman. Anytime they asked him, he would say, man, I'm tired. Security concern. He campaigned less because he knew the arrangement. So he had to wait his time.
Okay.
All right, gentlemen. Quickly, I just want to uh, remind folks that you're here with us in the issues room. The issues room is the social media platform, is an alternative to many of the media platforms you see out here. We discuss the things that matter. Tonight we have Emmanuel Clarke. He is an author and a professor. Uh, they wrote the book that we're discussing here tonight. If you look in his background, that is the silhouette of the book. Um, we've covered some of the critical pieces in the book, but we just wanted to remind you that if you just joining the show, that this is the issues room. We come on Tuesdays and Fridays, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the U.S., 11 p.m. in Monrovia, Liberia, or if you're in the Greenwich time zone. We quickly want to recognize some folks in the house tonight. Gaia Reed, Cole Gloria Vocal Moba, Yaman Double Gite, William McDavis. Good to have you. Been a while. Kolik Batar, Roya Smith, Eman and Sumo. Welcome to the Issues Room. Joetta Cisco, we say good evening. Welcome. Gabriel Ann Daniels, Elizabeth Bowen, Promise Sui, Gomeni Seku, Adiaha Umo. Welcome, James Conyan. Um, please share the link, invite a friend. We'll be opening the lines momentarily so you can engage Mr. Clarke about his book. But quickly, as we proceed, one of the areas we don't want to miss because it was in our promo is the issue of rape, the prevalence of rape in Liberia. Every day you wake up to the news, there is a story about a rape, whether it's a child, whether it's a minor, whether it's an adult. This is just so prevalent, and in to the point where sometimes people try to cover up the crime by doing something. The latest rape case had to do with this young boy who was sodomized and his tongue was cut off. um, but why did you guys put that piece in the book? Is it because Weah is the president and not much being done about this particular societal ills, and that is why you wanted to throw light on it and align it with the fact that he is the president of the country? Or is there any other reason why uh, rape was mentioned as an important
Chapter.
ingredient in the book?
Yes, Josh, Weah mother was a survivor of rape, and many of us, including myself, um, experienced that. Had that experience. Mine was with an older woman in our community. So, and just for how much 10 cents to give me for recess, you
So, are
know.
you telling us that you were raped?
Of course,
Oh, okay.
yeah. So
Okay.
you see this little boys bathing naked, and it's not funny. It's nothing funny
I
about
know
that,
it's very.
Mr.
I
Cindy.
know the trauma. The trauma. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I have survived it, and I'm just imagining others that are going through it. And
Yeah.
Mr. Weah mother was also a survivor of rape. She was raped at 13 and got pregnant and had a child at 14. And so
Now, was that
we,
child Mr. Weah?
no,
Was
no,
that
no.
child Mr. Weah, according to
Mr.
the research?
Mr. Weah was the third child. That was her
Okay.
first child. Costa got that wrong, but Henry Costa, being Henry Costa, he
Yeah.
twists
Let's. Yeah.
things.
Let's dwell on the
Yes,
book.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So you cannot tell George Weah's story without telling the larger Liberian story. There was a time during the Tottenham administration. I don't know, Mr. Sandy, you might have been young, but I was not. I was young, but through research, the age of consent. You know what the government was trying to set the age of consent to?
No.
I believe
13.
was it 21?
No, 13.
13.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes,
Then 13-year-old
cool, cool, cool.
could marry. Yeah.
Could marry, yes,
Mm-hmm.
and they were out there having sleeping with children under 13. Just imagine a 13-year-old child. So
Yeah.
now let's go. Let's move. Let's fast forward to George Weah time. That session of the book was actually written in 2018. George Weah had just taken power, the RIP. So we tie that in because RIP is a cultural thing in Liberia. It's almost like it's acceptable. I went on a farm one time. This older man on our farm in Bone County, this in the town, this older man raped a young girl who went to take shower. He jumped on her, raped her, and the people gave her to the man to marry.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and it happens all the time in Liberia. The same thing that happened in with George Weah's mother, because after Mr. Penn, after she got raped by Mr. Penn, they say okay, the family took her and gave her to Mr. Penn to get married. That's it was the reason she had to run away from Weah and Duro to come to Monrovia. So it is prevalent. Now, those are the things we need to start talking about. That's the conversation we need to start having. We need to start
And,
having.
and honestly, this conversation doesn't seem to grab the kind of attention. But chapter 13 was more,
Yeah, it's a
you know,
controversial piece. Yeah.
there was a lot more in terms of drawing the public's attention to chapter 13 rather than the issue of rape in Liberia that is so prevalent, and there's a lot of people going through the pain. I just
Yeah,
thought to just sharpen the conversation a little bit.
yeah,
And Emmanuel, not to cut you off, if I could just come on that and ask you this question, giving the history that you have given us about Mr. Weah's mom, the trauma experienced, and given where he came from, uh, why is it that as president, this man is so insensitive to the issue of rape, to the prevalence of rape in Liberia? Why you think so?
uh, power has its own way of clouding a person's view, and local view and world view. So it's power. You would not know until you get it. So I would have thought that, I mean, knowing the history of what his mother went through, he will be a strong feminist and
Yeah.
start to champion and, I mean, bring a law, enact a law that will be strengthened by the dread of punishment. Are you guys there?
We are here.
Yes. So one would think that being a president and having family members, even during the fall of it's not the fall of Monrovia. There was a war in Liberia where his family members staying at his 9th Street resident were raped by NPFL soldier Benjamin Yatan's his cousin or his relatives. Women there, the NPFL soldiers went there and they took over the house. They raped a lot of women, and you know, one would think that George Weah would champion. He would be at the front row, um, try to enact law that would be strengthened by with the dread of punishment. But we have, that's why in the book we said most of the times in the community, if a young girl gets raped, the family, they normally settle it by some powerful politician. They go and they settle it, and that person has to live with that scar. And you feel so bad about yourself when you are experiencing that. You value yourself less. Your self esteem goes down, especially for the women. I have spoken to some of these women. Uh, so these are things we need to. These are discussions we need to have. I mean, you will see a grown man, like when we were in school. I mean, we were 15, 16 years old in high school, and some of the girls would come in big private cars with grown up men. They are not their uncles, that they are godpa. in Liberia, we said, man, the Hagopa there, and we need to have those conversations. It's just not right. The reason I have daughters. So looking at it, it's nothing cool about um, statutory rape, because if you sleep with a minor, it's statutory rape. Most men do it and they have no problem with it. They say, oh, that my goddaughter, the girls, because of poverty, they say, oh, that my godpa. It's just wrong. So that's
Let me just quickly clarify something here. For some of our viewers, Emmanuel Sumo is saying now the topic has changed to rape.
No, it
This is
has
the
not
worst
changed.
guest on the
Mhm.
show, but I still keep watching it because of the caliber of the host. Well, just to clarify, Mr. Sumo, this is a book that has several chapters, and there are different contents within those chapters. Everyone thinks this book is about Claire Weah or chapter 13. No, this book is about many things. And so we don't want to leave here tonight not to cover some of those things for those of you who have not purchased the book and read the book. I would think that would be, within your right to do that. And then you would then see how this conversation is being driven, because we don't want you to think that we're covering, or trying to euphemize the importance of chapter 13. But there are other chapters in this book that are very important as well. So just wanted to make that clarification, as we consider uh, other parts of this book, because we'll be moving from rape and we'll be moving to other content. But we'll be opening the lines in about 5 minutes to give you, the viewers, the opportunity to speak with studio guest, Professor Clarke. The number to call would be 404-272-2808, but it will be via WhatsApp. Do not call direct. The screen will tell you utilize WhatsApp, because our main studios being utilized in Liberia. We're broadcasting from Monrovia in our main studios. So do yourself the favor, if you need a call, to utilize WhatsApp. If you're just joining us, Volcano Shelton Moses Sandy, Emmanuel Clarke here. We're discussing the 59th edition in the issues room. We're talking about this book, reading about President George Weah, but there are other things we want to look at. So moving from rape, let me just bring us to the issue where you talked about Liberia being first in many things, Mr. Clarke. You talked about Liberia having the first African footballer to win every prize and become the icon of soccer in Africa. We also talked about Ellen Johnson Sirleaf being the first woman president on the continent of Africa. Liberia being a founding member of the League of Nations, then the United Nations. Liberia being a founding member of the Organization of African Unity, now the AU, where the first meeting was held in Saniquale in my
mm-hmm.
county, according to my history.
Yes,
But not only that, Liberia is the first republic on the continent of Africa, even though it can be controversial, but we know for a fact it's written in history. However, there were stories that Ethiopia was probably the first, but they didn't fully gain their independence through Italy because they were colonized by the Italian. So
mm-hmm.
Liberia became the first independent country. So all of these first we're bragging about, but look at our country, look at who we are. Um, Tell us why you decided to mention all of these first things that we've accomplished as a nation. And then did you decide to do a cross analysis with all of these first? And today we look like we are the last, the least on the continent in every aspect of the world, the least.
I hate that saying. They say the first will be last and the last will be first. Um, but sometimes the first can set the tone for the rest to follow. With the case of Liberia being so many first free country, independent country
On the continent.
on the continent of Africa. Imagine that. Liberia was the first 100 years before 100 years before any other African country can gain their independence. Can you imagine that? I don't know which African country gained their independence before 1947. If you look around, none. 1847 to 1947, 100 years. But you see, the younger generation of Liberians, those that were born from 88 to, some of them from 35, they might not know all of these things. Some of them are doing the research. We need to tell them what we pride ourselves on. But if you look at the so many first, we lost our way. So you got to look at the gain you made and your loss, and why you didn't sustain those gains. And our problems in Liberia is that we do not maintain things. Even the houses we build, we don't maintain those houses. Liberia was the first country that ever exported sugar. That's the reason they call Liberia the sweet land of liberty. It's not because of freedom. Liberia was a major sugar producer, you know. Liberia was a major sugar producer in the world. Sugar that was produced on the St. Paul River back in 1830. The sugar industry ran from 1830 all the way to 1880 until the Liberian sugar industry started to crumble. Why it crumbled? Because those that were running the plantation, the sugar plantation, they failed to upgrade their equipment. Those were American Liberians. And worse, it actually collapsed back in 1888 when beet sugar was discovered in Jamaica. So the
Okay.
value of cane sugar just dwindled. And Liberia, first to was one of the only African member to be part of the League of Nations, founding member of the League of Nations. And Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Guinea, people used to say Liberia is the only country where you see the pygmy hippopotamus that's so small, just like a pig. You find it in Liberia. So we need to pass some of these things, information off to our younger generation, to empower them to say, we made gains, but those
And
gains.
just to add to Liberia's accolades,
Mhm.
Liberia had the largest rubber
Rubber.
plantation in the world. We were the
So,
first. Where these
guys,
guys,
we got some callers that trying to reach me. So let me see if I can put somebody through
well,
from my
they could
phone
call the
here.
number. The number is there. I'm looking here. No one has
N-
called.
No, they called him a private number, and those are
Well,
people
let
that are
him
in the
call the
states.
number.
Okay,
How will you put him through?
from my
The line.
microphone.
Okay, you want to do that? Go ahead.
Yeah. So the guy just hung
But
up.
why are you
Let me,
doing that?
let me. Yeah,
Liberia,
why you doing
yes,
that?
that's
Ask your
our thing,
question.
right?
Yeah,
Liberia
yeah,
is the first to have the
yeah.
largest rubber plantation in the world.
Yeah, are you there? Oh, okay, 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 okay. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead. Hmm.
So as I was saying, so
Mm, mm.
I was just wanting to add that first. And
Yeah, go
and
ahead.
if you think about all of those first, look at who we are today.
Yes.
Those guys came here, took our rubber, they didn't put up a tire factory in Liberia, you know, they didn't leave anything for us. In fact, CDB came give the land for, was it a 1 cent an acre? Or yeah, I think that's what I thought. 1 cent
Yeah,
an acre.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But they are, if you do the division, for the 1 million acres, they pay $34,000 for 1 million acres. But before that, the British were in Liberia. They had a rubber plantation somewhere in Carisburg there, but they abandoned the rubber plantation. That's how the Americans went there when they came, because after the rubber embargo, the British put rubber embargo, not really embargo, but the price was so high. That's how Firestone came to Liberia. But let me say this. In the book, we said, with these gains, uh, the economy of Liberia thrived from 1950 all the way to 1972. Um, Liberia economy was comparable after World War II. It was comparable to Germany, but they never. The country was. I don't want. What country was not. The country is not really poor. It's rich, but it's poorly managed. It was poorly managed, and it's
Okay.
currently is being poorly managed by our leaders. Anything and everything we want as a country to develop that country is under our feet. It's in the ground. So Liberia needs the right leader. People, a lot of millennia, the young people, they believe that George Weah having been rejected was that's why we say in the book was he was seen by many supporters of his as the rejected stone that rejected cornerstone, and people believe that he was going to come to build a nation that was poorly damaged, that had been poorly damaged by the Civil War. But the actions of people he surrounded himself with, or himself, his inaction to take action against those that he worked with, is, is the result of what we are seeing right now. So I hope Mr. Weah, who is a good person who loves that country, at least that's what he made every one of us to believe. I being his number one fan, football fan. I hope he can do the right thing to put Liberia on a path of success.
So, Mr.
Quickly,
Clark,
Moses, just to
yeah.
remind quickly, please
Hmm.
call 404-272-2808. Utilize WhatsApp so that you can be a part of the conversation. We're looking forward to hearing from you. Mr. Clark is here to be engaged. Continue, Moses.
Yeah, Mr. Clark, earlier I heard you say that George Weah himself never thought about the presidency.
Hmm.
Instead, he was encouraged by people
Hmm.
that he's surrounded by. So, can we say that since 2018, when he ascended the presidency up to now, is George Weah being exploited by his supporters for their own, accomplishment or their teaming of their own desires? Is he being exploited?
I'm, Mr. Sandy, I'm not in government,
Yeah,
but
I mean,
standing
I
from the
assume you know
outside,
George Weah better than most of us.
standing from the outside looking within
Yeah.
is different from being within. But from the outside, it might look murky. I don't know if George Weah is benefiting from the spoil. I
Okay.
don't know. Um, there are several elements of within the administration. We know they they are corrupt by nature. So if you surround yourself with a lot of corrupt people, then as a leader, you would take the blame. You got to be swift. In business, we have something to say: hire slowly and fire quickly. If you see somebody mismanaging the organization's resources, what you do, you fire them. So maybe George Weah, if he's elected for a second term, if he's lucky enough to be elected, because the Liberian people are gullible, just like some Americans here. They might elect him to a second term. Maybe it will be when he will make a U-turn, because in the book we said when he came to power, when his rise to power, the government had a false start. Everybody, it was like they had been put in a candy store. They were writing their own positions on paper, what they needed, and it was a scramble. It was those that were in house. There was a fight, fight for which ministry I get into. Well, back and forth. So yes, that's what we have inherited now. We just have to pray that President Weah man up and take a firm stand to save the country and save himself from destruction, because he's being pushed to a place that history that he might be disgraced very badly. His gains, His reputation is at stake, so he needs to stand to protect it.
When you
So let me
said that,
ask you a quick question here. In this book, two things. Tell me what is the most positive thing about in this book, and what is the most negative thing in this book
about
Not
about
George
the man
Weah.
George Weah.
99% of the book is positive because
Okay.
George
And
will
what is
have
that one thing that you consider that this will be the flame that will keep this book a bestseller? Or is it that one negative thing that made this book a bestseller?
is what I thought would inspire people was the fact that George Weah returned to school after his success and gained an education that a lot of Liberians are questioning. We question people. We ask those that were involved, that those that I can say as an educator, we got a lot of feedbacks. We got people that came to told us some things about George Weah journey, educational journey that did not want to be put on a record. So those things were not. We know the fact. We know how George Weah earned his education, earned a degree. But in the book, we put his achievement as an individual to be a catalyst to many. I mean, I was listening to this guy from East Africa. He was talking passionately about George Weah, how he was written off. He went back to school, got a degree, ran for the Senate, got elected, and now he became president because of the fact that George Weah never gave up. Each time he was attacked for not measuring or not being a presidential material, not having education, he went back and yes, he got educate. He got some form of education, whether it was online, whatever. Um, the pundit, the critics said it didn't work, but at least he got the paper. So that was one of the positive things about the book. George Weah is not a perfect human being. He made a lot of mistakes. George Weah would go into a bar, he would drop like $75,000, buy liquor, entertain people. When he saw the black money boys, the Nigerian scammers in nightclub, he would measure arm with them. You would not outspend George Weah when he was George Weah. So the bad thing, he
These were
went
some of the
broke.
things that were presented
So,
by
yes.
the people who you give
Yes,
those questionnaires to.
yes.
Okay.
That's how that it was one of the reasons that he went broke, even though his wife, he invested some of the money. He has a little bit. I mean, Clark being a smart woman, she played her part to secure she and her son's future, financial future. So, but we couldn't reach Cloud herself, but she's not going to disclose uh, whatever it is.
So, Emmanuel, earlier I heard you say that you did not want to talk about or George Weah education, the way it was obtained, is something that you did not want to go into. What's so secret about that? This man is a public figure. You cover him, you wrote about him. What's so secret about his education that you don't want to discuss?
Because those resources, those that give the information, is
Yeah,
said they refuse to be put on the record. So when you go in the court of law, we did
yeah.
it just in case if we were sued for certain things, we will present the sources for those information. So if you told me all these good things about Georgia and some of these bad things about him, and you refuse to be put on the record, I say it's rumors. I don't write rumors.
So
I
you
don't.
never put anything, you never
About
put
his
anything where
education.
someone didn't want to prove it. You never
Yeah,
added it in the
I
book.
never added. In as much as those things were good, I mean, they would tell me all these things about. They were giving the names of some of the young girls that George Weah took to his 9th Street apartment. I mean, how home, underage girl to have fun with. Then I said, "Oh, this is good. Can I put you on the record?" You say no, I'm not going to include it.
Okay, so
So
you quickly,
Moses,
yeah.
let me throw this in quick.
Hmm.
Akina Wesley says here, you're damn right, Moses. Emmanuel discussed the man's sex life vividly and cannot dissect the pursuit of his education.
Okay, I
So
would
Yeah,
say
yeah,
quickly,
yeah, yeah,
the information given about Claire Weah, that description,
mhm.
absolutely.
the person who disclosed that information, is it one of those people say
That's
you can call my name?
Yeah, there were nine.
that's the question that I
There
wanted to
were
ask
nine
you.
people.
Yeah.
There were nine people, but
Nine people,
yeah, they are on
nine
the
people say
record.
you can call my name on that one.
Yes, you can say you can quote me
But
on that
then,
one.
but then
Okay.
nobody agreed to say how he got his education because the
Yeah,
story they say all different people are doing his schoolwork, so that it all
I'm
over the
not going to
place.
go there because I'm
I'm
on it.
just saying. I'm just saying. I mean, it's not. It's a
Okay.
conversation that is kept abroad.
So
I'm just saying. So no
and
one, Moses will come
yeah,
into it.
go
So no
ahead.
one actually agreed to disclose that, even though they came out and said these things, but because they didn't want to go on record, so you never brought anything about that in the book.
Yes, I just
Okay.
generalized it. I say how pundits um um see how pundits see him and his earned education. But as an educator here in the U.S., we are under strong federal law that you cannot disclose somebody's education without their permission. I cannot go to Wilmington University and say I'm getting Volcano Shelton, uh, whatever it is. So it's just. And George, if George Weah had told me, if we had sat with him, either for him to verify it, fine. I mean, people told me that, oh, I did this and this. The man owed me my balance money, he didn't give it, so I'm not going to put it there. Because I
Okay.
said, okay, but can I quote you? You say no. Then I said, oh, but then it's a lie.
Okay. So now, let me take you back, piggyback on the issue of education again with you. As somebody, who has over the year known George Weah, followed George Weah, talked to people who are, in his inner cycle. Can you tell us, based on your own assessment of him in the public as president, does he come across as an educated man? Emmanuel, that's the question for you. Is George Weah an educated man?
Educate. There are so many types of education. You
In
know that.
okay, okay. So
I think the
basically,
man
when I
talking
say,
about book
yeah,
educator.
so when I say educated man, man who has the ability to read and write, who has the ability to do critical thinking,
And use the word independently.
yeah,
The
independently, who
ability to
has
read and write
the
independently.
yeah, who has the
To
ability to
critically
read and
think on
write
his own
independently,
independently.
do critical thinking independently, and speak independently. Is George Weah, based on these categories that we just made mention of, or qualities that we just spoke about, is George Weah an educated man?
George Weah is, he's in the position. He's constantly learning.
No, you
He's
haven't answered my question yet. Is he an educated man?
you
That's
you
a
wanted to
pointed
be.
question.
Is
That's a
it
pointed question. Is he an educated man?
George Weah has a semblance of education, some semblance of education.
So you're implying that he's not an educated man.
George Weah got a GED, uh, but if he was, I mean, if George Weah is educated, yes,
Okay,
but
good.
but but he's not using his education to his own advantage. You can be educated. That's why I say you can be educated in so many ways.
Okay.
So, but yeah, he's educated, but is he using his education for, I mean, at his advantage? If you an educated man, first you will become analytical. You will look at it wrong. George Weah, you cannot take his street smartness from him. George Weah, when he went to Liberia, what he did, his street smartness made him, those that were trying to use him, he he gave them what we call Huawei. He took their money up from them. He ate that money.
When you say Huawei, what does that mean?
You know the Liberian term. You want to
Okay.
use me
Mm-hmm.
for your own political gain. He didn't. He never allowed it to happen. He was street smart. You are not going to put George Weah has a um, nature, because George Weah would not put you front and center if it is not him. If it is not but George, that's why he makes friends. He when he brings you close to him, when he knows that you're about to overshadow him, he lets go of you. George Weah burned bridges so easily, but he wants to be that one person in the spotlight. So people that did not know him, politicians that did not know him, that were trying to buy his loyalty for him to push them, no, he pushed them away. We saw so many of them. Now, when power got to him, to his head, he said, "Oh, I have arrived. This is where I want to be. I want to call the shot." And you know, having been elected, the little education that he got on his from Gibraltar and on the football field, he's still trying to use it. But from research that we're doing right now, George Weah doesn't want to be president of Liberia. He's tired. He
For
knows
now,
for
for
now, yeah,
now,
for now.
are you speaking from insider sources?
That's it. From information that we have gathered, he doesn't want to be president. He doesn't even want to run for a second term. But people with their own interests, they say, "My man, we can win this thing. We can make this country better." But for him, he's tired. He wants to go enjoy and party and do what George Weah loves to do.
So again, this brings us back to the question I asked you earlier. Is George Weah being exploited?
No, I don't want to say exploited, because George Weah is a rational man.
Hmm.
He's a man who has played football, a football player at the level that he played. He knows he knows how to take defenses. He knows how to score goals. He allowing whatever that is happening. George Weah allowing it. If you are around George Weah, what he tells you, he speaks in code. He speaks in parable. He'll not come directly to tell you how he's feeling. But right now, the man, somebody told me, he said, "My man, that boy hands are tied behind him, and they want him, and you guys want him to swing." I'm not a politician. I'm more of an educator. So George Weah, his inability is making it seem inability to manage. George Weah never managed any business successfully. Every business George Weah ever got in collapsed. And that his inability, that is one of the things that is working against him. He's not a good manager. So if he was a good manager, he would have let go of a lot of people. So that's why in the book we say George Weah, he should only go and liaise with people that will open door for him, not people that will exploit him. I wish George Weah had read this book, his eyes were open, but he allowing people. Somebody called me and told me that we're discussing the book, and at the result, and the person said, "Oh, you guys wrote a lot of nice things about him, but chapter 13, you're not supposed to read it like that, even though that's something he had been saying, he had said so many times. You guys should have said it." But George Weah, he's allowing some of these things to happen to him. People are undermining his administration right under his nose. He's not saying it. But again, it's his lack of experience. We said he was not ready for the presidency from 2005, and going in 2017, still, he lacked the willpower. He never had that managerial skill to make swift decisions. So from the outside, we know people have just come to the conclusion that he's allowing himself to be exploited by political vultures.
Okay.
So
So
it just tells us here that he is the conduit through which these people can
Yeah.
gain prominence in their own skin and do what they want to do. Because when you look at the construct of uh, the way things are going, you can just see it from that perspective that uh, he's just ceremonious, and there are
Yeah.
people who are calling the shots.
Yeah, yeah. Because first of all,
Moses, I think
Yeah.
with all the time,
Yeah.
if you look at the time, it's 8:32.
Hmm.
We're about an hour and a half in the show. We're not gonna have any callers tonight. No one has endeavored to speak with Mr. Clark, except for those chatting here. But listen, any one thing you want to say about this book that we can close on tonight, because it's about 12:33 here, and I got to catch my rest. Considering where I'm at, and again, I apologize for my voice. I'm back under the weather.
Yeah. Like I said earlier, from the onset of this podcast, the book, from the caption or from the topic or the title, seems to be a good read. It is a book that anyone will want to read and rather get to know who George Weah is, where he came from, some of his accomplishments over the year, and where he finds himself today. I'm sure Mr. Clark will agree with me that the only controversy in that book is chapter 13, which most people believe that Mr. Weir was not treated fairly. So I would like to close by saying that the book is a good read, with the exception of
Let me
chapter
hear from
13.
Mr. Clark.
Mhm.
Is there anything special about this book? And because I'm telling you honestly, millions of Liberians haven't read this book, and they
Yeah,
only dwell on hearsay and
yeah.
people. Many of those people who demonstrated against this book and continue to
I had no
say
clue.
all the
I
negative
had no
things
clue.
have
Yeah.
never even picked up a copy
Hmm.
to read it.
yeah.
The book is online. It's at Amazon. It can be gotten on Amazon. Some people say the book was banned. Is that true? Clarify that for us.
The book has always been there because the book, the demand surged so high that Amazon,
Somebody told me it's a bestseller.
yeah, it's a bestseller. It was a
Now,
bestseller last
Volcano,
month.
if we're gonna do advertisement for Emmanuel, he has to pay for that. Yeah. I
James
mean, this
David
is
is asking
business.
here whether you wrote this book or you both wrote this book, and you could just be the guy who was tagging along, and most of the content of this book who have come from Ava, because he was once Mr. Weah's confidant, and it fell apart, and he uses your professional writing guidance to conglomerate expertise to get this book written. So the guy is asking if whether this book was fairly written or out of anger. Was Ava trying to get back at? And it's sad that Ava didn't make the show tonight. But was he trying to get back at Weah for the fallout? And he brought you along, as a choir guy, just behind the
So,
scene.
so that forget you get into the same controversy. But hey,
No,
Emmanuel,
no,
go
no.
ahead.
I'm trying to just take this one piece from James Davis right here.
I know. I'm
we,
just
we have
kidding.
we have to
Yeah,
give
yeah,
give some of
yeah,
the
yeah.
the
Go
the
ahead,
the,
go
uh, the
ahead,
chat from our
Emmanuel.
viewers.
Yeah, go
Since
ahead,
this is
Emmanuel.
a very poignant question,
Yeah, it is. It's a
because
very good question.
some people have thought it.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
I,
Emmanuel, quickly, let's end on that, so
yes,
we can know that this book came from a positive place.
the book was I started writing the book and called Alva to join me because since he was
Okay.
Okay,
an
okay.
inside
So now you're telling us the story how the book started.
yes, I
Okay.
started
Okay.
when I came from Liberia. I was there for 9 months, doing research and trying to poke around. And I came back 2017. Then Ava was in the thick of things with the CDC stuff. You couldn't have him to sit down. So I approached him. He said, "My man, right? I mean, we'll write the book. We'll write the book." Finally, he decided when he came on board, he was a good resource person. Anything I wanted, anybody I wanted to talk, in fact, he the one organized those interviews, hours and hours of interview. We got interview with George Solo, a lot of other people, man, recording over recording. We have a lot of recordings out there. So when he came, being a writer, I will, sometimes from the recording, I'll transcribe it. from the questionnaire, I would do my analysis to see if the answer corroborate. You know, that's how I was writing it, and writing is my passion. And Sandy, Volcano, you guys have story. You know, we got Clark Publishing. Maybe we can make you guys the next bestsellers. You never know. You know,
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
story in each and every one of you guys. If I can do it over 10 times, this is book number 18, you can even do it better than me.
Thank
So
you.
if this book was written because with love in my heart, I wanted to tell my football idol story because there is nothing out there. And the book is being bought, believe me, Liberians are, you know, the book is being bought mostly by Nigerians, Ghanaian, people from East Africa, in the UK, people in Germany, even people in France. Recently, before I depart, ESPN approached me. They said they want to do miniseries on George. We are based on the book. I should give them authority. I should authorize them to do it, authorization to do it. I told them I can do it. I reached out to uh, some of the people around George Weah. You know, I'm not sure if they have told him, but this is Mr. Weah is that's his life story. He can make tens of millions of dollars from miniseries on ESPN that could be streamed on ESPN, Netflix, and even Amazon or Apple. So it's right there,
Okay.
right there. I
Great.
wanted to tell this story about George Weah, who inspired millions of Liberians and millions of people around Africa and the world. That was my intent. It was not based out of rage. Ava came along, you know, when we reached to the political aspect, that was his ground. And I told him, as a writer, as an author, as a journalist, I cannot write all negative things about George Weah. No, the man's story is inspirational. His story is motivating. You don't know who his story will touch. That their life might be transformed just by saying George Weah. If George Weah can do it, so can I.
And you can equate Obama in looking at his story, the first black president of
Mhm.
America. Now it has given grounds to many of the young black kids to say that I could be president tomorrow. But listen, man, thank you so much. We have to let you go. I thought it was great conversation, even though uh, you know people has
Yeah.
the mixed opinion about the situation, but we covered most of the content of the book. If possible, we can come back, in the future, to discuss that book you're talking about coming up. In due seasons, would like to be a part of helping to discuss that story. Uh, Thanks so much for availing yourself here in the issues room. It was a pleasure having you, and I just want to thank you for the opportunity to be our studio guest tonight. Even
Yes,
though everything seems to be controversial, we'll say, from some of the viewers here tonight.
Yeah. And Emmanuel, before you go, let me join with Volcano in saying thank you for coming. It was a pleasure having you. This is the issues room. We discuss those issues that matter most. So when you come here, come prepared. Thank you. It was a pleasure having you.
you bet.
Thank you. Good. Yeah.
Well, Moses, I think I thought it was a good conversation.
It was.
We delved into some very important things. Uh, I think the story of President Weah is a good one.
It's a good
Uh,
story. Yeah.
it's a good one, irrespective of everything. Locker room talk
Yeah.
took
Locker room too.
precedence over,
Yeah.
chapter
Chapter
13,
13.
and
Yeah.
and 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 just that he said 100 words within the chapter was kind of
Yeah.
uh,
It's a
the catch
controversy.
the catchy piece that made the book sell so fast, and also brought all of this controversy. But I when you're writing about celebrities, many things can happen, and I
Sure.
think that it started off from a positive place, and you know
Yeah.
they wanted
And
to tell the
and
story in detail. Like he said, it was what's the word, uncensored, or
Yeah,
know,
uncensored. Yeah,
yeah.
they just put it out there. And quickly, let me say, this evening, Emmanuel made a lot of disclosure that
But
Mr.
wait.
Weah.
Minus Sumo, you were right here tonight. We opened the line. You call. You say you want to come out and engage the man on the next show. Okay, we're playing it. We'll bring you.
Yeah,
We'll
we
bring
can
the
play
man.
something. We can play something. Yeah, but
Listen, I gotta
as I
go,
was
my
saying,
man.
yeah,
People giving
quickly,
me a hard time. I don't want to start coughing and sneezing here, man.
Okay,
Sorry, my man.
okay,
Thank you
yeah,
so
sure,
much.
yeah, yeah,
We'll
good,
catch
thank
up
you.
Friday if everything looks good.
Okay,
I'm
thank
working
you.
on a 6-day regimen. I'm hoping I started today. I'm hoping
Yeah,
that it gains ground. I'm taking my liver medicine and also what you call it, something called
but man,
azithromycin.
don't overdose. Oh,
Oh no,
be
no,
careful
but
now.
my man,
Yeah,
we in Africa, man. We been taking it
but
in.
and sometimes they say the how you call it, the lemongrass, eh? They say that is also good.
Huh?
The lemongrass, cook it
Oh
with
yeah, I know the
lamb and stuff
lemongrass. My
like
man, you
that.
can find lemongrass. The people build
Really?
everywhere. Oh, Moses, man, Morovia,
Wow.
my man, all of these things we knew. We had
Yeah.
something called pigeon peas. We had
Yeah.
something called the lemongrass.
Yeah.
The sleepy grass. That grass that will
Yeah.
be bright. So now you touch it, it
Yeah.
goes
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
All of those things were the regimen we put together for our.
Everything going, my
I
man.
mean, you can't find those things, man. You can't find those things.
Wow.
You can't find nothing around here. Nothing. You want to
My
drink
man.
coconut water? That what you'll find, but you can't
My
really
man,
find it.
Monrovia has changed your volcano.
Oh, my man, I went around Nizo the other day. The village, the
Yeah.
Nizo village,
Yeah.
is a city.
The news
The
that we
village
knew.
gone. Only the
Wow.
relics of the village. You know.
Wow.
So nowhere is safe. Nowhere. Everywhere
Okay.
is a. You go. I drove down Police Academy Road.
Mm-hmm.
I was struck. Police Academy Road. When we were growing up before the war, only residential settings. Back there was the John Bestman, the this Pega guy who was at Telecom, Initius Clay. All of those guys were the guys who
Yeah.
built at the end of the swamp in that area. Andrew Tukpa David and the likes.
Okay.
But my man, you go down that road. They already paved it. It connects to Boulevard.
Wow.
Everything. It's like
Gone.
Banga. It's like Banga. The way
Wow.
the way the people turn this capital city around,
Yeah.
it's like when you used to go to Banga.
Yeah.
They just put all of this
Yeah.
jing jang all along the road, jing jang. And in those little jing jang, they living there, the poo pooing, they digging little pit hole and making a septic tank. Everybody, I mean, it's a jing jang. No
Wow.
joke. Jing jang everywhere around Monrovia, even around the very president. The president, I know when they say president
Yeah.
living
Yeah.
somewhere,
That entire enclave,
forget
my
it.
man.
Forget it. The very president. Jing jang all over the place. Everywhere is a jing jang.
So no control, my man.
No control. No control.
Wow.
No zoning.
No zoning, my
The
man.
marshal that we thought was going to be the new city. There's a whole
Yeah.
conversation we can start. And I don't want to
Okay.
get a little. The
Yeah.
marshal we thought was going to be a new city. You get to Marshall Junction. Huh?
Mm.
It's chaos.
Wow.
Now along the Marshall Road, that was supposed to be so beautiful, they put in Jing Jang again all along the road. So where are we going to build a beautiful city? Where we're going to start a modern city in this country?
and
Where
and the
that
thing
will
you're
have
talking
proper
volcano.
zoning, the kinds of structure you only buy land when you can afford it there, and you can only build a house that conform
Yeah.
to that community, to
Yeah,
that
there should be
locale.
zoning that clearly defines,
I mean,
the
everywhere
kind
is
of
a Jing
houses.
Jang. Everywhere. Country town, that's what Monrovia look like. And no
It's
joke.
unfortunate, yeah.
It's no joke.
I thought
I'm not
by
the only one
now.
saying it.
No, but what you're saying, I thought by now, like Marshall and other places, there would have been zoning laws that would define law. You can't put a zinc shy here. You can't do this. You can't put no madhouse here. That will, how cities are zoned.
What's
But
this? Everywhere is a Jing Jang. I'm not kidding you. Jing Jong, Jing Jang, however you want to call it. Everywhere. You see Dupo Road, you think you in Banga back in the day. Or when
yeah,
you arrive in Kakata. You see Police Academy, you think you in Banga.
wow.
I mean,
Wow.
it's a shame, man. It's a shame. It's a shame. Congo Town back road consumed.
Wow.
Sinkhole, the very sinkhole is now consumed.
Huh?
In fact, Peaceville is an interior from the way it looks. So how will you not have all this dirt everywhere?
Yeah.
When
You
people
know,
are
and you
just
got
building
mosquitoes
shacks,
all over the place, my
scented
man.
stuff.
Yeah.
They can't even afford to pay for their own garbage to be removed. So they come at night and put the garbage in the street. They fill the drainages. I mean, this is a serious matter.
It is.
Nothing seems to be happening around here. And then let's just leave it at that. We
Yeah.
can talk about this another
Yeah.
time.
Sure.
But yes, it's sad. It's
Okay, my
absolutely
man.
sad. This is no joke. Monrovia and its suburban environment is not a suburb. I take that word back.
Yeah.
Monrovia and its immediate environment, or environs rather,
Yeah.
are people jing jang. Everywhere is a mess. Good
Okay.
houses, bad houses. Good houses, drinking spot, making no. I mean, I said the place is chaos.
Okay.
That's the word, chaos. Liberia is chaos. I'll leave it there.
Okay. Thank you. Well, I wish you speedy recovery, man. Look forward to seeing you on Friday. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much, viewers, for joining us here tonight. We'll be back here on Friday, God's willing. You've listened to or view and listened to the 59th edition of the Issues Room. Tonight we had Professor Emmanuel Clarke here as our studio guest. My name is Volcano Shelton. We'll be back here another time. Thank you for being there with us. All you wonderful people, P. Edward and James Davis and Marie Pade and Emmanuel Sumo, all of you for coming in tonight. Listen, man, please encourage others to come in. Make this platform your widely viewed platform. You can do it. We discuss the things that matter. We bring content of substance. Bart Miller, thank you for joining us here tonight. Miss Umo, I will believe it's either Miss or Mr. Adiaha Umo. I'm not sure if it's a Miss or Mr. Kolikwato, Melvin P. Dix, thank you. Thank you for joining us here in the Issues Room tonight. Nehemiah Commander, it's good having you, William McDavis and Ari Anderson. Daniel Colley, it was good having you also in the house. Thank you. Boyman Sally, good to have you in the house. It's good conversation here. Akina Wesley, man, thanks for stopping by. We'd like to hear from you. You have some profound perspectives to share. So we'd like to hear from you. Akina, make the Issues Room your platform. We got to bring you in, my man, one of these days as one of the discussants. So please accept our invitation when we reach out to you. We say thank you so much to all of you for joining us. Have a good Tuesday night. Matter of fact, it's Wednesday on my side, but it's Tuesday if it's still Tuesday on your side. Have a good one.